Good morning, or good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in the world. Talent Finders would like to welcome luxury real estate advisor and founder of Daniel Daggers Real Estate, Daniel Daggers. So welcome, Daniel.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So I'd like to obviously congratulate you on all your achievements. Can you share with us how your career started and where your passion for real estate came from?
So it'd be great for me to say I had a real passion for real estate. You know, when I was a teenager, I just stand and stare at buildings and think, wow, how beautiful. But that didn't actually happen.
Yes.
I wanted to be a professional footballer, like a lot of British boys, and now girls as well. And that didn't happen. I wasn't good enough. And I performed poorly at school. I didn't learn the way school taught. And the grade system just gave me the impression that I had very little to live for from a professional standpoint.
Yes.
And I fell into real estate because I'm Jewish and a lot of my community is in real estate because, frankly, you don't need any good grades, GCSEs, A-levels, degrees to do what I do. Yes. So it's a very easy entry point, but you have to have the ability to network and understand people. And I sort of fell into the job. I did a bit of work experience for 2 weeks there whilst I was studying business. And that went well. I licked a lot of stamps and made lots of teas and coffees and really just had a nice time there with a small group of people in an office in the shop window. And then after going to study surveying, because I thought that would be the next way of me furthering my education, even though I didn't really like learning that way, sort of, I would say a quarter way through it, I broke my collarbone, decided that I wanted to have my independence and get a job and earn my own money. Yes. So I applied for a job at JD Sports, which is a big retailer here. They didn't come back to me. And lo and behold, my dad bumped into the owner of this small estate agency business with about 6 or 7 people in it. And they said, listen, one of our sales guys has left. What's Daniel up to? And he said, well, he's looking for a job. His arm's in a sling and he wants to get into a permanent role. I was desperate to work. Yes. And I was 17 and a half, still a spotty teenager, but desperate to make money. So he took me on, Stephen Vickers, who sadly passed away not long ago. And he gave me a chance. And so that's how I started in the real estate business.
That's amazing. So you are recognized as one of the world's leading agents with a career spanning 21 years with the highest level of professionalism and earning your clients' trust all over the globe. So can you please share with us more about this? And what would you say separates you from your competitors?
Okay. As a young man, I realized that the real estate was lovely, but the real estate was not important.
Yes.
The most important thing was people.
Yeah.
You see, if a person or if nobody wants to buy a piece of real estate, then that real estate is worthless or not worth very much. But if people want to buy that piece of real estate or rent that piece of real estate, the value of that asset goes up. And therefore, if I understand people and I get people to like me, love me, respect me, enjoy their time with me, then I'm going to have a cohort of people that will choose to do business with me for the rest of my life.
Yes.
And so I didn't see a client or customer as a singular transaction, which is a mistake in our industry. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
We are in a need role, and a need role means that people do need us to find real estate for the time being. Yeah. Yes. I'm sure there's going to be some changes coming. Yeah. With the adoption of digital and AI technology and stuff like that. But we're in a need business. And if people move on average 5 to 7 times a year, and I stay in the industry, every person I meet for the next 20 or 30 years equates to 4 or 5 transactions.
Yeah, absolutely.
And therefore, if I live a borderless life, I don't just work in this neighborhood, but I can work in multiple neighborhoods and I can support my customer or my client, then that client is a client for life. So push aside short-term decision-making and lean into long-term decision-making and building relationships.
Yes, amazing. So that leads me into the subject of leadership or the lack of leadership from both a business and global perspective. So what do you believe you do differently within the real estate industry and leading within your company that makes your leadership style different? And can you give us any examples?
Okay, so we've gone through, like many businesses, we've gone through this industrial revolution, which means that agents are no longer people that just send emails to create appointments to do deals. Now we have to present real estate over digital channels in a digital way so that the audience can see what you're doing and essentially document your days and represent your clients in the best way and their assets. So yes, as a leader, I found myself in a really interesting position. For years, I've been managed.
Yes.
And with management comes glass ceilings.
Yeah.
Because the managers tend to stay quite static and expect you to come up to their level. And then when you get to their level, you hit a glass ceiling. And then there's nowhere else to go. And you either leave or they leave.
Yes.
A leader is someone who leads from the front, who can say, I've walked the walk, I've talked the talk, I have a vision, I have a North Star. This is where I'm going. I'd love you to come on my journey, and I'm going to support you to be better and greater, live a more fulfilling life.
Yes.
Without boundaries. And so I suspect we will find with the adoption of technology that the role of the manager will become, I wouldn't say redundant, but I think they would have to evolve and become more mentor-like figures.
Yes.
And the dynamics around that would have to be that there is an incentive for people to push you to be braver, do better, and look for an abundance attitude, as opposed to this is the box that we want you to sit in.
Yes.
Leaders aren't frightened of people who are good at what they do and want more.
Yeah, that makes sense. So the luxury real estate market is highly competitive, and also when dealing with very high-end clients come with a massive responsibility. So what would you say is unique to your sales process when dealing with highly demanding and difficult clients? And what are some of the tools you use to help your team to navigate through these challenges?
Okay, so first and foremost, it's not just building a professional relationship with people, it's building a personal relationship. What we do absolutely. Is it's very, very sensitive what we do, meaning that you allow me to walk through your home, where you raise your children, where you have the most intimate parts of your life. And when you allow people to walk through your home, you need to feel safe and secure that those people are not only there for financial gain, but they're there to support you in more ways, right? Yeah. So my clients aren't just commercial objects for me. My clients are people I want to have a relationship with for the rest of my life. And I want them to lean on me, and every now and again, I'll lean on my client. So firstly, it's building a personal rapport with people, okay? Yes. Secondly, we built technology to support our clients so that they can see what we are doing in the marketing of their home or their asset or their investment. Yeah. So much of our industry is, here's a set of keys to a stranger, good luck. Let me know how
it's so impersonal.
So impersonal. And also, you have no idea what it does for you, right? You know, is when they call up or send you a text message, say, hi, I'd like to show your home. Well, we don't think enough. We think transparency makes us more accountable, and therefore our clients feel more comfortable that we're offering the best service possible. So we've built technology for that I don't believe anyone else has done, and our clients love it. And in many instances, it's won us exclusive business. Okay, 95% of our clients are exclusive clients. Okay, so we're building technology, and that stands us apart. Also, my track record, my access to people and assets is second to none, because I've got a quality of 23 years in the industry. I'm actually a lot older than I look. No, I'm kidding. So there's loads of reasons to do business with us, which is great.
Yes.
Yeah. And with the democratization of information, because so much of us are going to be flooded now with information, it's people who can analyze the information and create a storyboard around it that will give you a good impression as to what the future looks like.
Yes. And so it's forward thinking.
Forward thinking and anticipating change. If you follow me on digital channels, I will anticipate things.
Yes.
Yeah. I'll be brave about it. I will call markets before it happens, because I want my clients to know that I'm not going to give you historic data points to support what we're trying to do today. I'm going to give you the historic data points everyone else will, and I'm going to use my foresight, track record, and factors of experience to then give you a really good impression as to where I think it's going in the future. and therefore I will get better advice.
That's amazing. So what would you say some of your biggest lessons and learnings have been within your career? I mean, you've probably had multiple, but is there anything that really stands out for you?
It's all about people.
Yeah.
It's all about people. My industry has been too determined on KPIs, key performance indicators. If you make 1,000 phone calls in one day, you will create 10 viewings. Out of those 10 viewings, you'll get one offer. Yeah. Okay. There's zero inspirational in that circle of working life. Yeah. You know? You can't go home and say, oh, I made 1,000 phone calls every day and be proud of that in our industry. Yeah. You know? What you can be proud of is when your client calls you up and says, hi, we did business 15 years ago. I remember you to the day because you offered an amazing service and you were fun and I love speaking to you. And whilst it's a really stressful thing to do, I enjoyed it with you. You know? Yeah. That's something that you can go home with a real, glowing heart and say, well, I've made a difference here. Yeah. And I think in today's world, in entrepreneurial life, where it's not just about the buck, and don't get me wrong, like we want to be hugely successful. Of course. But that's just one aspect, right? Just one aspect. We want to be proud about what we're doing. Yeah. We want to be really proud about what we're doing. And we want to lead. Yeah. It doesn't matter if you're 23 or 41 or 67. It's about leading. Yeah, absolutely. So as we've been through 2 incredibly challenging years as COVID has turned our world inside out and upside down, what and how have you had to adapt, and how during this time did you have to pivot, and what are some of the biggest challenges you personally and professionally experienced, and can you give us any examples? Okay, well, thankfully, I adopted digital very, very quickly, and I had been preparing for a slow process of change, yes, where marketing over digital channels like LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, Twitter, it has now become the norm, but I have been doing this for the past 5-6 years. And so I was an early adopter, okay? And then we used some foresight to see what could happen in the future. And whilst we thought it was going to take time, COVID just accelerated change. Yeah, and then it sort of fell in our lap. So whilst me leaving my previous business wasn't a pleasant experience, I would say that post the 6 months non-compete that I had, we started the business March 2020, which is probably what most people say is the worst time to start a business. Yeah. But I would disagree. But there's opportunity and challenge. Yeah, I would disagree. All of a sudden, people realize that having an office shop front is less relevant. Some might say it's no longer relevant. Some might say we don't have a shop front. We didn't need a shop front. We just needed a way to speak to our audience. I have 100,000 people that follow me, follow the business now is about 250,000, and we have with people in the business. And so we were able to market our clients' homes in a loud way, should they wish, pretty instantly, and in a quiet way, because we built technology to share information on people's prized assets in a very subtle and secure way. Yes. So we were prepared. I'm not going to say it was easy, because it wasn't. Of course. There's always glitches and challenges. Yeah, I mean, look, I've been used to be sat at a desk every day for 23 years of my life. I've worked for other people. Yes. So I'm used to what some people might call monotony, which is, going in at a certain time, sit at your desk and go through everything. That was normality for work with me, and there was comfort around that. So all of a sudden that was thrown out the window, and I'm sat at my kitchen table, much like today, because I'm quarantining. I did put a shirt on, by the way. And it was very different. But then again, there's a little bit of solace knowing that everyone's doing the same thing, and it's who adapts fastest wins. Absolutely. And thankfully, because we're a small business, we're very nimble, and we could do multiple things for our clients. We could do rental, sales, management, we could do anything. And so immediately, clients wanted someone that they could trust. In some instances, we're buying real estate and renting real estate blind, and they wanted to lean on an expert, and to advise. And that's very much my role. So we've been, phenomenally successful since the start of the business, which is fabulous. We were profitable from day one, but we've sold £300 million worth of property, and we have a book of about 400 million and a rent roll of 6 million. So very blessed But
yes,
this has been baking for 23 years.
yes, exactly. And it's not instantaneous. That's what people don't see. They don't see the blood, sweat, and tears behind that. So the real estate industry globally has been booming in some of the major cities like New York as well as London, with the markets being more in the favor of the sellers with a shortage of property stock. This is almost being compared to the roaring 20s. So would you say it has been the same for the luxury real estate market here in the UK or globally? And what would you say has been the motivating factor for these massive changes from both the perspective of the sellers and the buyers?
Great question. The peak of the London real estate market was 2014. Since 2014, people sat on their hands. We've had stamp duty increases, so the tax associated with buying property. We've had Brexit. We've had a number of mitigating factors that just stop people from making decisions to buy property.
Yes.
What happened was people sat on their hands. They were still making money. They were successful with their businesses, and they didn't really want to spend it. Then COVID happens, and everyone gets shut down into their homes. And there was a very quick realization from people that, one, oh my God, our kids are so big now, they're so noisy, we need to get out of this place, it's too small for us, we need to move. So that happened. Two, there was divorce. Three, there were more babies, and there were really strong reasons, compelling reasons for people to move.
Yeah.
Okay. It was a kick up the backside for people who were waiting to make a decision. So fortunately, if you were based in the UK or based in London, you had less competition because the overseas investors and people who were looking to come to the UK and migrate weren't here.
Yeah.
So you had less competition and you had a reason to move. So people started to do that. And the market bounced pretty quickly in certain neighborhoods that sort of were more palatable for family living. So houses with gardens and parking, their own ecosystem. So you don't have to share your space with someone else, because in COVID, that's really a turn off.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, when the airports opened and we had some more fluidity amongst global citizens, you found the very, very, very high-end developments sold exceptionally well. Yeah, the branded high-end developments sold exceptionally well. And we are, I suspect, going to go through a busier time with a lack of product, and therefore we're going to see inflation. I called that about 9 months ago. There's just an injection of billions and trillions of dollars and sterling and euros into the system, and they inevitably fall into the hands of the wealthy because they run the businesses that the people who have been sponsored to stay at home spend their money on or in.
Yes.
And those people are realizing the value of their cash is going down, and they're going to put that asset. So now what we're going to have is a product in place, a bit like after the financial crisis. We're going to have more people with more money looking to buy the same kind of assets, and that just creates an inflationary market.
Wow, amazing. Very interesting times for sure. So what would you say some of your biggest career highlights have been? And again, you probably had many, but what stands out for you?
Yeah, it's hard to say. Like, I don't want to take anything for granted.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, I've just set my business up and we've been phenomenally successful, and I've made more money than I've ever made before in my life. Okay, I'm reinvesting into the business, and that's great. And that's not me being arrogant. But
for sure.
That's because people want to do business with us.
Yeah.
Right. And so I would say that my biggest accomplishments is the fact that I built amazing relationships with lots of people, and they feel comfortable with me and like me. So that's great. I mean, if you're looking for a metric, I would say that when the market was shallow a couple of years ago and there wasn't much happening, I did 164 million pounds worth of deals in a month.
Wow.
And so that's, edging to $200 million in a month. And that's a single person, not a team, not a group of people. That's just me. And what I'm proud of is not necessarily the quantum, but if you look at the people that I was doing business with at the time to afford that sort of these assets, it's only 5 or 6 transactions. I think it was 6 transactions. If you look at the quantum, I'm dealing with some of the most successful people on the planet. Therefore, they're the brightest or most talented. And I have to make decisions for all these people. So there's 2 people on either side, sometimes 3, if husband or wife gets involved. And that means that I'm managing anywhere between 12 to 20 relationships.
Yes.
People, emotions, because this isn't just a strategic investment, that's commercial, for instance. This is people and emotions and life and family and all this sort of stuff.
Yes.
I would say that singular moment in my life where I was able to manage the whole position is a nice benchmark.
Yeah.
And I think it's very difficult for someone to replicate.
Yeah, for sure.
I'd like someone to replicate, I'd like them to beat it. That would be great.
For sure. So you have an exceptional and stellar track record, which has culminated in the sale of some of the world's most expensive homes, one recently in London, reportedly for £95 million, which is incredible. So can you share with us how challenging these types of deals are and what are the complexities of these types of deals? If there is anything you can share on that.
Yeah, there are complexities. I would say from tax positions to legal positions, there are more things to consider, including currency, that aren't necessarily a factor when people are buying other points in the marketplace.
Yeah.
Then there's time zones.
Yes.
And, well, I'll tell you something that's really, really interesting and that I love that I've had the exposure is that I've dealt with different kinds of people, different ages, male, female, and then from all over the world, from different ethnicities, different backgrounds.
Yes.
We're all family members, massive entrepreneurs, just anyone that you could ever imagine.
Yeah.
And navigating their cultural ways of doing business is a skill.
Yes.
And if
Dubai is very different from London and dealing with...
Well, it's more like in the US, I think something like 60, 70, 80% of the transactions are with other US citizens.
Yeah.
So whilst we are all different and we are all special, when you're dealing with like-minded people who are culturally very similar, what happens is it's very easy to make decisions and anticipate what people are thinking.
Yes.
But in London, you have a melting pot of people from all over the world. Yeah, Asian, Southeast Asian, European, Northern European, South African, French, English, American, even Barbados, from all over the world.
Yeah.
Okay. And they all do things differently. They all have different expectations. They have a different understanding to legal consequence. They have, different currencies. Things are just a lot more complex.
Yes, for sure.
And so when you've exposed yourself to all these people, that sounds so wrong, but you know what I mean?
Yes.
You have an insane wealth of knowledge and cultural understanding.
Yes.
And I love that. I mean, I come from a really humble background and I grew up as the only Jewish kid in the local youth club. And so I got bullied and mugged at knife point and all that sort of stuff. And for the kids in that youth centre, I was a posh kid who was fortunate enough to have both his parents.
Yes.
But I also went, because my parents saved all their money to put me in a private school for my primary school. And when I went there, I was the kid that had the least.
Yeah.
So I never fit in. But what it did do, it gave me, from an early stage, a good understanding of how to communicate with different kinds of people.
Yes, absolutely.
And that gave me just an incredible base level of communication.
Wow, amazing. Incredible. So you're also a pioneer in the property sector to professionalize the use of social media, which is critical, which you did touch on briefly earlier, in all aspects of business. So can you share with us more about this and give us some examples of how this really benefited you and your business?
Well, in my previous business, I was bringing 400 million, I think it was pounds, of leads a month from my social media channels. Wow. And referring it through the business. And I knew that that's where the customers were on digital channels. Yeah. Yes. I'll tell you a funny story. I had a problem with my car, so I had to get to work. So I thought to myself, well, I'm going to go on the tube. So I got on the tube and I'm stood there because it was busy. And I can see that no one's carrying a newspaper, very few people, right? And everyone's on their phones. Yeah. So I was like, well, when I used to go on the tube before, when I was going to school, everyone had a newspaper. Yeah. And no one looked at each other or talked to each other. Yeah. Well, they still don't look at each other. No. So I thought to myself, well, this is strange. And then when I got to my office, and I worked in a very big sort of corporate office space, there were 2 lift shafts with 6 elevators in each shaft. And just outside the security blanket, you had a box full of the Evening Standard newspapers that I used to love reading. I'd start at the back of the sports pages. And at the end of the day, I got friendly with all the security there because they were really nice guys and some girls. And I said to them every day for like a couple of days after seeing what happened on the tube, I said to them, the papers here, how many of them get taken? Like, half the box, a quarter of the box, all the box. He said, no one reads the papers here. So all of a sudden, I realized that everyone's on digital, everyone's looking at their phone, very few people consuming information, therefore adverts from newspapers.
Yes.
And I need to have a presence on the phone.
Yes.
Where people's attention lies. And so I went back on the tube the next day and I tried to look at people's phones to see where they were spending their time.
Amazing.
And so I realized that I needed different social handles so I was visible to a potential customer. And because I'm in real estate, everyone's a potential customer or a referrer.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And then I got invited to New York to look at a building called 432 Park Avenue, which was like the #1 building in the Western Hemisphere, tallest building ever in the Western Hemisphere, residential tower. And I got invited there as one of 6 agents from around the world. And I went on an outside lift, which took 5 minutes to get to the 70th floor. Wow. And when I got there, I thought to myself, wow, this is amazing. Very few people see stuff like this. So I asked consent if I could get on my Facebook Live at the time. And they said, sure, no problem. So I went on my Facebook Live, and my Facebook Live on my personal channels blew up. And I had clients there and friends there, and they were like, wow, this is amazing. This is incredible. And I thought to myself, well, people want to see the life that I lead.
Yes.
And if you're marketing your property on the websites and in open channels, me getting thousands of people to see your property over digital channels makes a lot of sense.
Yes, absolutely.
For free.
Yeah, exactly.
And so that's what I did. And I've met some of the most successful people on the planet from social channels, some of the wealthiest people on the planet. And I am constantly advising them and marketing to them every day.
That's amazing, Daniel. I love it. It's an incredible story. So
yeah, I'll write a book one day.
Yeah, exactly. You should write a book. So you're passionate about also giving back, and you're heavily involved in a number of charities. So can you share with us more about this and why the charities you're involved with and why they mean so much to you in terms of the choice of charities?
Well, when I was younger and I was a younger agent, very honestly, going to charity events was just a networking opportunity.
Yes.
That's all it was. And then gradually I fell in love with the concept of helping other people, which is what I do. I offer a service, right? So I like helping other people.
Yes.
And a certain charity that I'm a patron of is called Norwood. And Norwood actually helped my grandfather when he was ill. And then I was introduced to another charity that helps terminally ill children by making a wish, and sometimes that wish comes true if we can make it happen.
Yes.
I love helping people. I love giving back. I've always done that. I've always mentored people. Even when I was 27, 28, 29, I wanted to help people. I've mentored in my previous business, the youngest ever partner of my previous business that has 14,000 employees now. The youngest ever partner was someone I trained. The youngest ever female partner was someone that I trained. And I was mentoring probably about 15 to 20 people at the time, just before I left in that business, from different ethnicities, different cultures, because we don't all have the same opportunity. No. And I'm very conscious of that. I also think that estate agents have a bad rep, and I want to clean that up if I can. Yeah, because educate people, support people, tell them to play the long game, build rapport, and all these positive things.
Yes, absolutely. So that leads me to the final question. What are the 3 key pieces of advice you would give to others looking to pursue a career either in real estate or as an entrepreneur? And what legacy or how would you like to be remembered?
don't make choices pinned against short-term goals in analytics.
Yes.
You need to have a much wider view of things and a longer view of things. 2, if you're going to take advice from people, make sure they're not incentivized to go with you or against you.
Yeah, that's very good advice. Yeah.
And 3, you can be greater.
Yeah.
Okay. And then what would I like to be remembered for?
Yes.
I've been in the process of trying to leave a legacy for many years.
Yes.
And I'm determined to do so.
Yeah.
And I'm not the kind of guy you back against, if you know what I mean.
100%.
Yeah? Because I am prepared to grit my teeth and keep going.
Yeah.
But I like it when things get difficult.
Mm.
Because when things are difficult, it means other people have given up, which means there's opportunity on the other side of difficult.
Yes, absolutely.
So my legacy, I hope the legacy that I leave is going to be dictated by other people, right? It's not by me.
Yes.
But I hope that people see that I've tried to create more opportunity for more people to be better and live better lives. And try and be the best human being I can be.
Well, that's amazing, Daniel. Thank you so much for your time. So if people would like to connect with you, what are the best platforms to do so?
I'd probably say Instagram or LinkedIn or Twitter, and it's really easy to find me. Even TikTok, I'm trying to play on that too now.
Yeah,
it's really
takes
easy
a bit
to
of getting
me.
used to.
Yeah, but it's okay. It's all right. When other people laugh and shimmy stuff, that's because a lot of people are scared to try new things.
Yes.
And I'm not. So that's another nice lesson, right?
Yes.
But you can find me easily. Just type my name in anywhere, Daniel Daggers, DANIEL, and then dash sometimes Daggers, DAGGERS. That's it. Or a
amazing
website.
Well, thank you so much for your time, and hopefully we can have you back in the future and hear how your journey's going.
Thank you for the opportunity. It's very, very, very kind of you.
Thanks so much, Daniel. Have a great day.
Thanks, Karen.